Hey everybody, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank and I'm here with Jonathan.
Well, hello.
Today we got a lot to talk about, but we're going to be splitting this week into 2 episodes. So we have a smaller one this episode, and then we have Thomas coming back from LA Comic Con to break down everything he sees over there.
Some hot, fresh news from LA Comic Con.
Hot, fresh news from LA Comic Con, yes. Hopefully he gets to meet Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor because they're there right now.
Oh, that'd be dope.
And I know he'll blow up my phone the second he's around him. Like 20 feet away from him, he'll start texting me like crazy.
Just like live record the audio while you're over there talking to them.
Yeah, it'll be like nervously shaking.
Right.
Oh, what a trooper. We're recording this one in person again just because we got lucky and that's how it happened. So, but no dogs barking this time.
That's nice.
That is amazing.
It's an AI feature. It's silencing all the dogs.
Oh God, please, yes. But we do have a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Let's go ahead and get right into the news, Jonathan. And let's start with the thing I think we're probably most excited about. There's going to be a new Avatar: The Last Airbender video game being made.
Yes.
Why is this important?
This series is amazing, and franchise, I guess, is multiple series. So what they do so good is they build such a fun world, a very cool world that has this kind of political and social dynamics that you love to explore, and it would be great to explore in a game. So somebody's made an Avatar game before. I've never played it. Videos look kind of cheesy and cheap. Yeah. But this looks like it's going to be, it's a AAA title. It's going to be, big money behind it. And it's an RPG. So you'll, be able to explore the world that they create. And I'm super ready for it. I'm stoked.
Yeah. It's being done by Saber Interactive, and they're the ones that did Warhammer 40K, Space Marines 2, that I'm seeing all over the place right now. Squinks is losing his mind over it. So it's somebody who can handle a big game like that. Yeah. That's good.
And we know it's going to take a couple years, right? It's going to be a little while before it comes out. So this is just
because they just announced it. So don't go pre-ordering anything yet.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be thousands of years before the show. A whole different Avatar. Is that a good thing?
I think so. I mean, I do love the Legend of Korra steampunk time frame. That's very fun to live in. But this gives them lots of room to expand too.
Yes.
So I love the idea that you start 1,000 years before, maybe, sometime after Avatar 1, obviously.
Right, of course.
But we're seeing just kind of like the 8th or 10th Avatar or the 20th, and kind of they're still learning. There's not a history of avatars for them to pull from. So they're still very much learning how the system works. And they're, more one with the Avatar energy or however that works with the giant lion turtles and stuff. And the avatars that preceded them, if there's only a handful of them, them so much more intimately. So it's not this pool of avatars. It's like, oh, that one firebender avatar did this really cool move, and now I could channel him and use that. Yeah. You're learning more personally. So I think that'll be kind of a cool element they can explore. One thing I'm kind of curious about, pushing it back, so because you got to think like, they don't have technology. They might not have the same kind of political basis, a whole lot of political dynamics to this game. But one thing we don't explore too much, a little bit, but not too much in the Avatar and Legend of Korra, is animals. They have their individual pets, and the spirits are kind of like animals, or there's spirit animals. But living in a time well before technology, when they're in grass huts and stuff like that, they're probably much more in tune with nature and living, cohabitating with animals a lot more. So it'd be interesting to see, do airbenders fly with birds, or, hang out with birds? I mean, maybe they don't even have the ability to fly yet, but
because flying in the series is very much at the end of Korra that's like rediscovered.
Free flying, yeah.
I saw you saying like the gliders. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
But yeah, I guess gliders are technology that probably hadn't been developed.
Well, hold on, because in Korra the big thing is the Industrial Revolution jumps them up so much.
Yeah.
So I think this is gonna look like Avatar: The Last Airbender, because if you look back at our own history. 1700s looks very similar to 1200s. Yeah. For the average person, not necessarily the elites, but for the average person, they're still living in the same hut.
Yeah, there was like Renaissance was a huge jump, then the agricultural revolution, whatever.
So if you have like the Dark Ages, essentially, if you have like this gap of no technology advancing, then you can play around with it all you want, and then you could have hints to something coming up.
Who do you think the big bad would be then? Do you think it would be a type of bender or some other element within the world?
True. The bonds between the spiritual world and the normal world are weakened in Korra, and in Avatar, it's very rare for something to come across. There's the one panda episode, basically. Yeah. So there could be a time when they're a lot more frequent. Yeah. And so lion turtles are everywhere and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to see. I didn't think about that. Where the spirit the spirits trust humanity, that there's no division between
like
the
they
two
do
of them.
in Korra at the very, very end. At the very end of Korra, they're with us. They're with people. Us. Like I'm there. I'm a member of Republic City. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. That'd be cool. And I even remember I don't remember the episode, but Aang talks about the sacred land, might be from the comic book actually, where there was a statue to an airbender. Oh, but she was an avatar. Never mind. I was thinking it was an ancient spirit. No, she was an avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that'd be cool if they interact a lot more with the spirits too.
It's something that they tapped into with Korra, is the fact that the Avatar not just is the peacemaker, but is also the bridge between worlds.
Oh, and Avatar 1 actually was in that like little valley or whatever that was just completely filled with spirits.
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
That's where the Avatar state came, or Avatar-ness came from. Because he was just a firebender before that, right?
Yeah.
And then
it was
the
like
good Avatar
bestowed this power.
Right, gave this power to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys want to see out of this Avatar series, out of Avatar game. The combat, I hope, is smooth and stuff like that. And I'm really liking the fact that it's an RPG. We get to build upon that.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful world to expand on. Let's go. Let's keep it the Nicktoons, John.
Yeah.
Rugrats is coming back. They're going to reboot Rugrats with a live action CGI hybrid. It's going to be a movie. The babies will be CGI. Everybody else will be live action. Think Sonic.
Yeah.
What's your immediate reaction?
I'm really worried about
Me
CGI
too.
babies.
Yeah.
I mean, CGI non-human characters, that's fine. That's, you know, we've seen that successful plenty of times. But CGI, like live action people, you know, I get, maybe they'll do the babies with exaggerated features and they'll be more like cartoon babies or something like that. But I would just go animated, like Baby Boss was done really well. It's a good, you know, couple movies.
Yeah.
Or Boss Baby. One of
Boss
those two.
Baby, I think it was. Yeah. I didn't watch it, but yeah.
I'm remembering, I guess, well, there was no animation. It was literal actors. But there was a movie Baby Geniuses when we were young.
Oh my
God.
God.
Remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And like, yeah, the mouths don't really match up and stuff.
No,
It's just,
yeah. If you see a clip from that nowadays,
yeah,
oof.
it's like those old dog movies where it's like the dog is standing by the door and all this audio overlay of like, oh, are we going to go outside? And the dog's not even looking towards the camera or anything. But I don't know. I like Rugrats, so I really hope they don't ruin it. It was, you know, one of my favorite shows when I was 7 or 8 years old. And there's a lot of potential. I'm sure there's a big fan base, and I can't be the only one that was a big fan back in the day.
I will say there is a big fan base, but the reaction throughout our comments has been basically, no, don't do this.
Yeah, don't ruin it. Yeah.
So nostalgia, boy, we are fueled off that stuff.
Yeah.
Our generation.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a whole thing where like, you don't have to mess this up. You can just bring back the old school Rugrats. There's nothing wrong with that. Bring back the animation of it. The animation for this, by the way, I was trying to find that. It's like Strawbox or something like that. I can't find it. It's in my notes somewhere. But they do this mix of puppetry, claymation, and animation CGI together. It's a really interesting hybrid that almost looks like it's a CGI'd puppet in real life.
Really? Like, I'm thinking of that movie number 9 with the dolls.
So much more advanced than that.
Really?
That is a sleeper, but so much more advanced than that.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that looks like then.
Yeah. I came across that movie, number 9, maybe a couple months ago or whatever, and watched it again. I'm like, man, this is dark.
Yeah. How did it not get more attention? I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really good, but yeah, it's a little, I think what it is maybe marketing didn't really hit the nail.
I think that was,
because it looks like a kid's movie when you see the box cover or something like that. It is not a kid's movie at all.
It is not a kid's movie.
It is a deep, thought-provoking movie.
Yes.
And sad. But
and like it clearly allegory for war and stuff.
Yeah.
That movie's good.
Reminds me of that game Stray, which we heard they're making a movie for too, right? Movie or series?
I think they're making a series for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Good. Oh, God, I forgot about that. Yeah.
That'll be so cool.
Which again, that world is enough to like, it's not just a cat. There's so much to that world that's worth it.
Want to explore it.
But yeah, so Rugrats, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Questionable. All right. DC has announced a new you know what? My bad. My completely bad. Babies will be CGI. This movie is using that new claymation puppetry. That's what it is.
That makes more
as soon
sense.
as I started saying
we were just talking about CGI.
yeah. That's completely my bad.
Nice.
DC announced a new animated, but it's different because it's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
With Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, the first 2 Robins.
Yeah.
This is going to be called Dynamic Duo. It's going to be following the legacy of the Robins. Yeah. Robin is one of my favorite characters in DC. Yeah. Over time, it's become more and more my favorite, especially with the newer comics. It's not just Batman, it's the Bat family. Mm-hmm. And I think when you dig into the differences of the Robins, you'll fall in love with them.
Yeah.
What do you think about them doing a show about these 2?
I don't know much about Robin. Honestly, it's sad. The only Robin I remember was from the George Clooney Batman
which
movie.
was based off the Dick Grayson one.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me give you a quick rundown on Jason Todd because he might be the most interesting of the Robin. He probably at this point is.
Yeah.
He's not my favorite. My favorite's Damian Wayne, which is the newest Robin.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so Jason Todd, he's the second Robin to go in. And he's introduced to the comics as he was stealing the tires off the Batmobile.
Oh, yeah.
He was a punk. Basically, Batman takes him in and kind of like, this is what it's like to be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
But Jason Todd's mom is a drug addict and a mess. This is a different era of comics. This is when they were like, we're going to go serious, you know?
Right.
They did a vote. Well, they set up the story called The Killing Joke, where Joker, using the mom to betray her son, captures Robin and is about to kill him. And then the readers got to vote, call in and vote on, does Robin live or die? Does Jason Todd live or die?
Dang.
They voted for him to die.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's crazy.
It was found out, saying like a few years ago, this happened like in the 90s, 80s probably.
Yeah.
That there was a lawyer here in California that had an auto dialing into the number to make Jason Todd die.
Wow.
But the actual fan vote, if you take away his auto dialer, would have been Jason Todd lives.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
Well, I wonder, did they write both stories?
They must have had both stories planned out.
Okay.
But Jason Todd died. And it's one of the most, the question comic book and the answer comic book are some of the most popular, well-seen comics in Batman history.
Yeah.
Like the Batbreaker and stuff like that. So, but anyways, so then Jason Todd's dead. Well, fast forward to 10, 15 years ago, a new villain, quote unquote, comes on the scene, Red Hood, and he wears his red helmet, and he's just as good as Batman and the Robins. It seems like he's on the rooftops. He knows how to do their stuff. He's following them.
Yeah.
He's spying on Batman, giving Batman the drop that Batman gives on other people.
Yeah.
And come to find out, of course, he's Jason Todd. And Red Hood's nice because it's an old comic story that was who shot Batman's mom and dad. So it's kind of a thing there.
Yeah.
And today he's part of the Bat family, but he wields two guns. He's very much the Punisher of the crew. And he's that kid who stole those tires off the Batmobile.
Man.
And so while you have Dick Grayson, who's like, you have to have loyalty. Dick Grayson's a cop.
Yeah.
He's
walks the line a lot more.
Walks the line.
Firm,
he's Nightwing now, and he has his own identity, but he's really worried about his little town outside of Gotham. You got the other one that's got the two guns. Yeah. That's like very much Punisher. And then there's more. Each of the Robins have very distinct personalities like that.
Yeah.
That's what this is going to be about.
Imagine him like, if we can't get them out of the bank, we'll burn it down.
Yeah. And Dick Grayson's like, no, we have to save as many as possible.
Yeah.
And Damian Wayne's like, hey, I think we could poison them.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to explore in the Robin universe.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of them giving them their own movies now. And I hope that kind of leads to Batman Brave and the Bold, which is going to be the first live action Batman movie out of the DCU that'll have a Robin as well.
Yeah. I'm excited to see DC kind of retooling and changing their direction a little bit.
Yeah.
I hope that this new animation style will catch on a little better because, they've had a lot of animated movies come out and they don't seem to, get a lot of attention.
Yeah, they're very good, but don't get the attention. You're right.
Yeah. And I think maybe changing the animation style a little bit will say, this isn't a kid's movie. This is for mainstream, for, everybody to enjoy. Yeah. And the fact that it's going to be a little bit more, it might be a little bit more edgy story too.
The animation studio is called Swaybox. They're set out of New Orleans. Very unique art style.
Yeah.
I saw a sample of theirs. I ended up posting the NFL commercial on our thread, so check that out, guys. But maybe on Twitter too. Who knows what I do on Twitter anymore? Everything's automated for Twitter. But there's also one where they like redid the Iron Giant, like a lot of the, and it was like, man, that looks so much cooler in their art style than the old school Iron Giant.
Iron Giant was mostly claymation, wasn't it?
No, Iron Giant's full on cell animation.
Oh, okay.
Actual pen, paper, like cell animation or old plastic. But this is a hybrid of it all. Yeah. And like the expressions you get out of the face, it looks like old school animation in a way. It's really neat. We'll have to see it after this.
That's cool.
But yeah, hopefully this will be a introduction to the depths of the Robins for the newer fans.
Yeah, that's exciting.
It is. Let's go ahead and talk about, now, Jonathan, you're a dad. So is Marco into video games at all?
Just like tablet games.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't introduced him to anything more than just the tablet and YouTube.
What are some of the struggles as a dad of a future gamer or upcoming gamer, I guess you should say?
Screen time. He already wants, anytime there's a lull, if we're not directing him to the next thing to do, then he wants one of our phones.
Yeah.
Or his tablet. And we try not to give him that unless we need him to sit quietly somewhere, because he will just zone out and play, and the world is dead to him. And I guess during that, if it's not too long of a period, that's fine. But when we're done with him playing on his tablet or phone, and we, need to interrupt it and it's time to go somewhere or something like that, it's a full out tantrum because he's having a lot of fun and doesn't want to stop. And that makes it really hard for us. So, I don't know, being able, and we feel guilty. Like I know we need to set standards and limits on how much screen time he gets so that he can also have time to be a kid and get curious and explore things around the house and, nearly get hurt or something like that. But, we feel like we're letting him have too much screen time sometimes. And I know some is good. I don't know how much is too much, And
it's a whole new generation of parents at this point, right? Yeah. Like our parents didn't have to worry about too much screen time.
Yeah.
Boy, I was happy when I could sit in front of the Nintendo, but that was not very common. I remember staying up overnight to be able to play Pokemon.
Yeah.
Just because it was worth it at the time.
And a lot of the YouTube stuff, most of the YouTube stuff, I guess, he watches is educational, which is great because he learns.
Yeah.
Like right now, he's all interested in space, so he's learning about quasars and stuff like that, which I didn't even know what a quasar was until he showed me. And he knows his numbers and alphabet and things like that. So there's a lot of good educational games and YouTube channels he can watch, but there's also the ones that are just mind numbing, and not productive or. And
you gotta have some of that in there. Sometimes I think we all talk about how sometimes it's nice to watch Parks and Rec just as much as it is to watch The Penguin.
Yeah.
Do you, since he's into space right now, how soon do you start to be like, hey, you like nebulas? Let me show you this one ship that's flying through a nebula.
Right. So we still, I often put on Star Trek as background noise anyways, just so he can be acclimated with it. And the terminology will naturally seep into his vocabulary. So he babbles. Why not techno babble? I think it'll seep in there slowly.
Something about Star Trek I was thinking about this week where it's like, it's been too long since I've watched Star Trek. And I for some reason feel guilty about that.
Yeah. So when I want something that I can have on and I don't really need to pay attention to it because I know the whole episode already, I put Voyager on. Easy. Yeah. When I want to watch something and I don't have anything ready or queued, or I can't think of, what I told you I'm going to watch this week, which I always forget. Then I'll put on Next Generation because I know I haven't seen all of Next Generation or Deep Space Nine. I've seen a lot of both, but not all of them. So I put them on. Sometimes I'm rewatching one I've seen, but a lot of times I'm seeing an episode that I've never watched before. So that's pretty.
Even with Voyager, though, I get into it immediately, and then I'm just like, well, who needs sleep?
Yeah, exactly. What trips me up is when I'm watching an episode and I'm like, I don't think I've seen this before.
That's happened.
Like, oh, well, I've got to take a week off. I need to binge the whole series again.
I put it out on social media at one point. I saw this one where it was an episode where they were it was basically a Vikings thing where it was all about the Vikings afterlife. And I'm like, I've never seen this episode before. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I put it out on social media. I'm like, guys, I've never seen this before.
Was it not Beowulf episode?
It was Beowulf.
Beowulf. Okay. Yeah.
You're right. But what it was, I realized is it was at the end of one of the DVDs. Because back when you used to put the DVDs in, those first episodes you watched hard.
Yeah.
But then eventually you do fall asleep. And so I must have always fallen asleep at the end of that DVD and never saw it.
Yeah.
And I was, oh my God, a new Star Trek Voyager episode. It was the best.
I noticed that I don't remember the episodes in like seasons like 1, 2, and 3 because I would jump to 4 a lot of times when I put the DVDs in. Like, wait till they get a little more seasoned and then we'll jump in. But, and it's like, well, no, there's a lot of really good, some of the best episodes are in the first few seasons, but there's also ones that aren't as great. So
budget got a little bit better. 709 got in there.
Yeah. But as much as I like 709, I don't like that season 4, like she is the focus of every episode. It seems like for a while. Yeah. It's like, she's cool. She's a fun character, but you feel bad for all the other actors too that weren't getting any screen time because of
agreed.
That. Yeah.
But if it wasn't for her, they wouldn't have been in season 5.
Yeah, that's
she
true.
really was the savior of that show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to give her. Speaking of screen time with Marco.
Sorry, we got so derailed.
I know, boy, you mentioned Star Trek. I know, John. We got to, at some point, Trek Freaks is back, but we're just not sure when.
Screen time.
Yeah. Fortnite is implementing screen time that you can allot to your kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can say, hey, you can only play an hour, and it's a parental limiter that you put on there.
Like a screen time allowance.
There we go.
Okay.
Do you think that would be beneficial for you, or is the kid just going to complain until you add more time?
I think it's beneficial. I mean, if you're not monitoring it, you don't know what's going on with it. If you don't make a budget, you don't know where your money's going. If you don't count calories, you have no idea what you ate, right? Like if you don't, whatever you put your focus on is what's going to grow or what's going to succeed.
Yeah.
So if you are worried that your kid, especially if they have behavior issues and you realize like, it doesn't seem like they socialize enough or they don't get enough sun. The sunlight is healing. Like go outside and play in the sun.
True. Not
when it's super hot, skin cancer and things are real too. But, you got to go outside and play every once in a while. So if you want to set a limit, even if it's, hey, he can play for 4 hours in a day, that's totally cool. If that's what you like, if that's what you're comfortable with. But after 4 hours, hey, that's a lot of screen time. Maybe find something else to do. And yeah, they're going to throw a fit. Let them throw a fit. I've followed these parenting coaches and stuff on TikTok that say the child is learning when they're throwing a tantrum. They're learning. That's a boundary, and they're watching you and waiting for you to fail, and then they learn, okay, when I throw a tantrum, I get what I want. All these things are flexible. All these rules and boundaries are very flexible. I just need to be louder. I just need to scream when I want it changed. And you don't want them to learn that. So you be patient and you wait and you tell them, hey, sorry, this can't happen right now. And they're going to wear themselves out. And then they know, okay, that's a thing that can't work. And you move on from it. They learned that was the wall. I have to step back and I'll find something else to do. So
yeah, they'll push other walls.
Yeah. Basically. And it's better to obviously redirect them, give them different options of what to do when they're throwing a tantrum. Hey, you can't play on your phone, but let's play together. I'll give you my attention, because kids often just are seeking their parents' attention. Let's go play a game together. Let's air up a balloon or kick a ball, or there's tons of things you could do with the kid that they'll enjoy. Take them to a playground or park. And if you don't have the time, they can read a book, play with their toys and things like that.
Yeah. So with something like this, one of the things I did like when I was reading the article was it'll give you like a little warning to the person who's playing, like, hey, you got 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
So
I don't think the kids will even identify that. Well, older kids maybe. Marco, like, if he has my phone and I'm getting a call, he swipes up. He knows how to swipe up. He'll ignore it. He'll ignore the emails, all this stuff. Yeah. If my phone doesn't die, he's stuck on it.
That's what you need, is a kill switch.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, battery's dead. That's true. If you can like have a code where like I text from someone else's phone or from my Apple, from my Apple Watch, be able to turn off your phone, or like text from my wife's phone and texted a certain code and it kills my phone, turns it off. That'd be pretty cool.
So the time limits on something like Fortnite,
mm-hmm.
Do you see that as valuable, or just kind of like it's a drop in the bucket compared to everything else?
I think it's valuable. I think not having it, it's valuable because it's an option, right? If you don't want to set it, you can just not set it, not have a limit, and your kids can play just like they did yesterday. But having it for the families that, they want their kids to be able to play Fortnite, but they don't want them to be wasting their entire day on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's perfectly fine. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Is Marco old enough yet? Because when I was babysitting Brody in Brooklyn a few times, there's a gap there where I was babysitting a lot. I'd make a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, you can play Fortnite. And they always played Fortnite, and they like to do Red Dead Redemption. Yeah. And they would just go hunting things and skinning things, which was great for me because that's what I needed to get done for
farm.
Yeah. So I'd make a deal like, look, you can do that for 2 hours, but then I need an hour of you guys outside, and we'd play baseball or throw baseball or kick whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
But do you ever make those deals with Marco, or is he not there yet?
Yeah, he's not there yet.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. As a guy who doesn't have kids, I'm always just like, cool feature. Don't slow me down.
Right. But, let the kids play.
Yeah. The queue times are going to suck.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Don't let the kids play. Some of these youngins are too darn good.
That's, oh God, you're telling me. And I learn all kinds of new terms.
Yeah.
Like dog water and stuff like that. I'm like I luckily have multiple monitors on my computer. So one's Googling what the kids are saying.
Right. You have ChatGPT live translating.
Yeah. This kid just said he bet me. And I'm like, oh, he agrees. Oh, okay. That's great. I'm glad that, I'm cool, I guess. I don't know. Cool's not even the right term. Oh boy, I'm feeling so old all of a sudden.
I'm going to stay in the millennial lingo, and hey, y'all, you don't understand me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Talk you guys don't know how tight this is.
Exactly.
I'm outie.
It's dope.
Oh boy. Casino in Ischia is out today on digital. In the new action comedy starring Dominic Purcell, a fading action star heads to Italy to revive his career with a bold new movie. But his comeback turns into a hilarious misadventure when the production spirals out of control. Buy Casino of Ischia on digital now, not rated, from Republic Pictures. All right, we got two more things we want to talk about first. This next one is there was a lawsuit between Blizzard, clearly we're Blizzard fanboys, and Netflix that broke up what was in development. Netflix was going to make series for the Blizzard games, specifically Diablo, StarCraft, and Overwatch.
Yeah. Man.
Overwatch is, it's destined for a TV show, right?
Yeah, definitely. They wrote out so much backstory for all these characters, just, for the cinematics that they do so well. And
the comics too.
Yeah. True. They would easily sell and make, a lot of attention, a lot of money, a lot of subscriptions for making a TV series. But if, they have to make a good deal and have it made.
And the lawsuit seems so frivolous because what it was the head of finances for Blizzard left Blizzard for Netflix. But in doing that it was a poaching situation where they're like, hey, you want to come work for us?
Yeah.
So it was a breach of contract, but it was like, man, you guys just messed up that deal for that. So it doesn't seem like it's worth it. My thing though is Blizzard nails it whenever they put out those cinematics. I know it takes a lot of time and effort to do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like Netflix kind of has this machine that's just kind of churning out these animes.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste the cool Blizzard stories on that.
Good content. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because who made Arcane? That's Netflix, right?
That is Netflix, and that's kind of that's kind
okay.
of the
it's pretty good. But
that's the exception that breaks the rule essentially.
Yeah.
But like if you look at like the Tomb Raider that just came out, very forgettable animation. Castlevania was so incredible at the time, but then like, oh, Castlevania worked. Let's use that exact same animation and just keep churning out these Godzilla series and that's just forgettable.
Yeah. Like what you're alluding to though is like Blizzard should just start making their own shows, right?
That's what I want.
Yeah.
But that would open up an entire department.
But who owns Microsoft owns Blizzard now, right?
They do now, yeah.
So there's
not at the time.
Deep pockets, right? I mean, Microsoft, if they don't have their own studio yet, they could make one, but they probably have bought one by now of some name. So yeah,
they're laying a lot of people off right now. Blizzard under Microsoft is laying a lot of people off right now. So there's definitely a tightening of the belt.
Yeah.
But maybe when they could start investing in their IPs again, we could start getting that.
Yeah, and it might be I don't know nothing about nothing, but it may be they're forecasting that AI is going to be a very efficient tool and they don't need as many people moving forward. You know what I mean? Or do you think it's subscriptions and stuff like that?
Well, I just think that it's like what we saw with Disney. I think that Microsoft and everybody really, but the gaming industry is especially seeing it, is there's this thing where it's like, we have to just repeat what works. We're not innovating right now. It is not cost effective to innovate. Yeah. You come out with a game that's brand new and a totally new idea and it doesn't hit, you wasted $400 million like they just did that Concord game, which that was the opposite problem, where they were like, let's just make another one. And they burnt up $400 million and the game doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So I think what they're doing is they're just like, for example, we know that Microsoft is working on another StarCraft shooter because they tried twice and it didn't work.
Yeah.
But Microsoft's involved now, and Microsoft wisely hired somebody from Fallout to like, hey, or not Fallout, Far Cry. Hey, you already know how to make shooters. Make one for us and put StarCraft.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like, that will always sell from the fanboys and from just wanting to play a new shooter.
Yeah. What do you think if they leaned into like, I kind of want them to experiment with very small dollars. Don't put $400 million into something big. Buy small indie companies that have games in development and say, hey, we're going to double or triple your budget of, $300,000 that you were planning on making that game for. We'll make it $1 million and we're going to release it on our platform. You got, a year to finish it or whatever, and see, one of these might be the next, that might make them epic.
Hades, or something like Hades was such a great game.
Yeah. But I mean, like Fortnite, how it's so explosive for Epic. And then now they have the money to invest in a bunch of different ways. Because you never know what's going to catch fire. It might not be. I mean, the rinse and repeat is a way to almost, is not a guarantee, but a safe bet that you're going to be feasible. Like you're going to make back your money and a little bit of profit. Yeah. And you keep trying to do that. You have to keep, changing the flavor a little bit. And you don't know if you miss on one, you might lose so much that you can't continue.
Right. But if they stick with the formula close enough, that miss isn't too far of a miss. Yeah. It's like Madden. Madden never takes a chance. Yeah. Madden just keeps putting out a new Madden every year. But there are people who want that. They want to change the numbers on the back of the jersey for $59. Yeah. And that works.
Which could be just an update.
Yeah. And I feel, and I know I'm simplifying it, so don't at me, but I can imagine
all the stats and everything. Right?
Daniel immediately, so I could feel him burning up his phone texting me. But yeah, there is that thing where it's like, we're in an economic phase right now as a country, as a world, where people are just kind of playing it safe all of a sudden. Yeah. And that is showing up in the video game.
Well, and we talked about this last week that we've seen different models like Fortnite where you play for free and then you can buy skins, and it's just a
live service games.
Yeah. It's a totally different money-making system for the company. And maybe we're seeing that all these, big game developers need to either shift to that or shift to something different, that making a $70 game that costs you hundreds of millions of dollars to develop isn't really working out anymore.
Well, that's the thing is I think we're moving away. Like we talked about last week, how the live service games might be phasing out. Yeah. Because like with Concord, that $400 million, you put all that money out there and then you give it away for Concord was cheap, but I mean, like the idea for live service games, you give it away essentially for free. Yeah. And then you're banking on people hanging out long enough for you to make more content for it. And once that's done, like I say, Fortnite, if they shut the servers off today, absolutely zero value from it anymore. Yeah. You go from one of the most profitable games in the world to zero. Yeah. But if suddenly they stop supporting Assassin's Creed Valhalla, a game that's been out for about 5 years now, no, 4 years, whatever. you still have a 60-hour to 120-hour game that exists, that can live long, can always make some money on the back end. You can remaster it, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like it's like adding value to your home that's going to last longer instead of buying some fancy food.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very temporary. I see what you mean. But that fancy food, if you make those games in a way that one was hot and fresh and it's selling and it's doing really good, and when it's not, you already have another one ready behind it, you know, they flow like, you know, money flows into your bank and out of your bank, not buying an asset and sitting on it and hoping it retains its value, though it's going to slowly lose value.
But you're still making the money flow from things being sold, but you're building asset in the back end too. So you might not be you might not be leaning on the viral aspect of live service games.
Yeah.
But you're also building a library. Right now, you can go buy the 3-pack of Assassin's Creed, Ezio edition or whatever for another $50.
Yeah.
Or whatever the price is. But all of a sudden that game you developed 10 years ago is being recycled, and you cannot do that with a live service game. Can you imagine if they bring out like Fortnite, Legend? That just doesn't exist. The game's still active.
So there's a third option that we haven't talked about yet, and I think it probably is more realistically the future, I imagine, because like I can't see people continue to pay $70, or it's going to go up with wages and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Or like you're saying, live service games are becoming less popular, but the subscription model like you have for Game Pass, you pay. Or Disney Plus or Netflix, everything. All these are subscription models where you pay a flat rate and you have access to whatever games they decide to give you. You know? And they can buy the rights to Assassin's Creed and put it on their platform, and you can play it at your same $5 a month or $20 if they want to change it or whatever. What it's good for the company is all those subscriptions to them is a calculatable guaranteed income. Yeah. So, as
it'll fluctuate,
as they gain and lose, they can do the math on how much they know they're going to have next month and forecast that out. And so they can comfortably invest into some big games when they want to. Mm-hmm. Like, Netflix is doing it with movies and TV shows too. They comfortably invest in some big stuff, and they peel off some money to buy rights to some older stuff and some less popular or that was really hot back in the day. Maybe they would pay to have Halo on their platform or something like that for 6 months because, you just want to play an old shooter or something like that. I think, these game developers could compete that way, just like we see all of the streaming services competing.
Definitely. And then, then you have more of more investment from the actual publisher, essentially, right? Yeah. It's more important for Microsoft to be involved because it'll be on their streaming service, making their streaming service more valuable.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's something, by the way, this is kind of touching in on it, and I think we're going to wait till next week to really dive into all the laws that just went into place. Mm-hmm. California, clearly I'm a California fanboy. I'm from here. I like all the California stuff. Yeah. Well, we just put in a series of laws that were just like common sense laws that I absolutely love. And one of them is when you buy a digital game, you're not buying a digital game. You're buying the license to the game on that system that you're playing on. Mm-hmm. And so when we've seen it happen a few times now, when suddenly, like, say, Microsoft, we'll use them again, loses the license for Assassin's Creed, the game you spent $50, $60 on is gone because they don't have the license to have it on the Xbox anymore. Yeah. It's not like having the physical copy in your hand. Yeah. And so California just put in a thing now where when you buy a game digitally, it will no longer say you bought that game. It'll say you bought the license to that game.
Yeah. So you forever own the rights to it to be able to play it.
No, not forever. You own the rights to that game as long as that game is ownable.
Oh, I see. Yes. So it's not, that's garbage.
But that's the truth. That's the key. It's always been that way, but we assume we own the rights forever. But if the game is removed because they no longer have, and we've seen it already a few times now, the game's gone. And doesn't matter, you bought the license to it.
Why would they remove it?
For whatever reason, say Microsoft lost the rights to Ubisoft games or Steam lost the rights to whatever. Generally, they're like, well, if you already have the game, you're fine. But that has been negated in the past.
So to me, that's like a bait and switch, or that's the company getting their money because you paid for the game. I bought it, I played it, I liked it, and I put it on my shelf, and I'm going to play it again in 7 years. And then they lose the rights. I'm pretty sure they lose the rights because they decided we don't want to pay for it anymore. It's not profitable for us anymore.
We lost the value of new sales.
Yeah, we already got the money from the previous sales, and so these lifetime owners no longer have the game anymore because we sold it to them and they enjoyed it long enough. They don't deserve to have it anymore. We're taking it back.
And that's the reality for the business people. But for the gamers, they didn't realize that for a lot of people. Yeah. They assume that they're building this digital library that's ironclad. Yeah. But it's with a company. And just like we saw with if you really like watching American Dad or Bob's Burgers on Netflix, it's no longer there. You have to go to Hulu.
Yeah.
That's something that happens in video games too.
Yeah.
It's just we haven't really seen it take place a lot. It is happening a little bit now, and people are noticing it. And suddenly, the rise of physical media is kicking back in.
Yeah.
That's why you don't buy digital only consoles anymore.
Yeah.
Because no, I need to be able to own the actual game and be fine.
Yeah. And there's a thing. There's something to be said about the subscription models where I could just play whatever, whenever, and it's not a big deal. But when you want that new Halo game that comes out, you got to buy a hard physical copy, but you want to trust that every time you put that disc in your system, it's going to be able to play it.
Well, that will be the case.
Because it's a key, right? They're no longer putting the full game on the disc anymore. It's access to be able to...
Well, when you put that key in, you download the game onto your system. Like that actually is still... a hard copy. A physical copy is a physical copy. That still works.
Yeah.
And that's why right now there's a whole article just put out, I think it was IGN, might have been Polygon, talking about how suddenly after the recent things, and again with California kind of putting this law into place, again, I want to reiterate, it's not that California made that licensing thing. They just want to make sure people know that they're buying the license.
Gotcha. They're making it transparent.
They're making it transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that when you go to click on buy something, it'll say like, you're buying the license to this as long as the license is valid.
Yeah.
Right. So people, the rise of physical media is kicking in again. Good for GameStop. They needed it.
Yeah.
You know, get those GameStop stocks, I guess.
Right.
Stonks. So it made me correct myself. Yeah, it's a tricky situation where I think for Gen Z, it's not new for them, but we're in a weird spot, millennials, where we know what we're losing and we see what we're gaining, and we kind of want to have the best of both. But it's,
I wonder, do any Gen Z collect DVDs?
If they do, it'd be like how I collect records. It would be like
I could see
a hipster version of it. You know, like I hate to call myself a hipster, but I totally own records because it's like, not like I play them all the time. Alexa's right next to you, you know.
But it's like something out of time you want to be able to save because they are going to get destroyed. Records aren't very durable, and you know.
No, and to me, I find a lot of there's something to it, right? Where it's like recorded in the room type of thing I talked about in the past.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's kids that collect, but I also have a huge DVD collection that I own from when DVDs was how you watched them.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'd ever go away from having DVDs. You know, I actually have been on the hunt for most of my DVDs are in boxes now because I don't have a good spot to display them, and I got a 3-year-old that will destroy it. But I've been seeing a lot. I kind of want to buy a DVD player and VCR. I have a DVD player, but I see the combos and stuff online sometimes, but people are charging like $60-$70 for them now.
You buy a new one, you know how much a new one costs? Minimum $200.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Because it's a thing people want now.
Yeah.
But it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
The demand is suddenly so much higher than the supply.
Yeah.
So
I bought a big box of DVDs at a garage sale one time, and in the bottom layer of it was all classic Disney VHSs.
Oh,
I was like, oh man, and they were in really, they were in really good shape too. And I was like, okay, now I got to buy a VCR. I want to be able to show my son the grainy old, you know, VHS tapes. And like you're saying, sometimes they just won't be available on whatever streaming services you got. So it's cool to have, you know, when you want them, especially seasonal movies. My wife likes Christmas any time of year.
Yep.
Christmas movies are not available on almost any streaming service except for like in December. So
because they want to make a big deal that it's on now.
Yeah, they can promote
just like they did when it was on broadcast, right? It was like always the first weekend of December was It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
But now you always see on Netflix, we're like, hey, It's a Wonderful Life is now on Netflix.
Yeah.
Because it's a seasonal thing that you want to be.
If it's on year round, it won't be exciting and won't get
in my DVD selection. I have like, this is all the Christmas stuff. And I bring that, just take that whole section out, put it next to the TV when it's time, you know? And we're getting there. Oh my God, this year is just flying by way too damn fast. It's sickening. But yeah, so we'll break down all the California laws that just got put in place. One of them is that they just put in a law that you have to be able to cancel any subscription streaming service the same way you signed up for it.
Oh,
with
wow.
one click.
Yeah.
Because there's some of them, like if you go through Roku, you have to go through all these different hoops to be able to cancel.
Put in a request and call on the next Tuesday at 4.
You and me are tech savvy enough to go through that, but like for the older people, sometimes it's not. Well,
I'm losing my tech savvy.
As the tech guy, quote unquote, for the family, you know, it's nice to be able to, hey, you remember how you signed up? Do the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's a new law. All these laws are kicking in January of next year, obviously, for California residents. And there's a lot of really cool laws that we'll be discussing on the next episode. I do want to do a quick review for Megalopolis.
Oh, yes.
You saw this masterpiece.
Oh, my God. I was kind of excited because the trailer looks really good for this movie.
Yeah.
A little confusing on you know what the plot's going to be, but I was like, you know, we'll figure it out in the movie. And I rushed out of here. We played D&D, and then I was like, hey, I'm going to hurry up and go catch this movie.
You did, yeah.
It was terrible. And I hate to be so negative on movies. I love to go watch movies, and I feel like most of the time when I talk about a movie, it's always the bad ones. It had a great cast, and I really hope that this movie doesn't affect their reputations, because
I don't think it will.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope nobody watches it enough to realize it.
Yeah, because I think Shia LaBeouf, what I'm hearing is probably the best performance of the movie.
Yeah. Oh,
it can only help him.
He plays such a weird kind of crazy character, which is great. It's like I kind of this wouldn't fit, but I'd kind of want to see him play a crazy version of the Joker. The way he portrays this, it's like it still, again, it wouldn't fit, but a parallel character similar to that.
Yeah,
the way he does this. But the movie, they put a lot of money into it. A lot of it looks really nice and stuff like that. But the plot, the story is just not there.
Can you tell us what the story is of the movie?
If I was to try to write it as like a children's book, to say, like, I don't know, 5 flip pages, something like that, you almost can't. Yeah. It is like Jon Voight's character has a lot of money, big businessman, whatever, super rich. It's kind of like in a parallel universe. It kind of looks like the retro, like 50s, 20s, and the future at the same time.
So let me tell you what the idea was and see if it resonates to you then.
Okay.
It's retelling a story from Roman history. In New York.
Yeah.
About them overthrowing an emperor.
Okay.
Okay, now does that make sense to you?
Kind of. I mean, it does. They have very much Roman themes, as if the Roman Empire continued to grow and it grew across the world, kind of thing, is how I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then there's Adam Driver's character is the main character. It's all about him wanting to build this empire. He develops this material that's supposed to be stronger than steel, and it's super high tech. Kind of reminds me of the
vibranium.
Yeah. How they use it in Wakanda Forever, and it can like be used for anything. Black Panther. I keep calling it Wakanda Forever.
Hey, that's the sequel.
Yeah. Anyway, so he makes this super material, but there's so much in between. So he makes super material and is trying to build this megalopolis. The megalop or megaloblock or something like that is the name of the material. Is why the city is Megalopolis.
That's so stupid.
So stupid, yeah. I think it's the megalop is the material.
Oh, God.
Anyways, so
I wish I could see your face, your reactions to all the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Exhausting. It's exhausting just trying to remember this movie. I was sitting in. I never want to walk out of a movie, and this one I was counting down like, God, I should have left at like the midpoint.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, I'm like, hey, it can't have more than like 15 minutes left. It was just atrocious. So Aubrey Plaza is in it. She's great too. Great actress. I wish she didn't take such a terrible gig. She plays Jon Voight's like wife or girlfriend. Wife. Yeah, they get married.
Yeah.
And so it's she's married him for the money, and she wants to be able to take over his empire and stuff. His son, I believe, is Adam Driver, and his nephew, well, one of them's son, one's nephew, whatever, is Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf is always overshadowed by his cousin, and he wants to kind of take him out and take over the family empire. So he's trying to do tricky stuff.
The bones of this is cool.
Yeah, he's always trying to do something tricky to like screw over his cousin.
Yeah,
and partially by talking to the people and kind of making a mob out of the people, kind of to overthrow him a little bit. This feels
a little Shakespearean. Does it kind of have that vibe?
Yeah, definitely. And so we're doing full spoilers, right?
I don't want to go. I mean, I don't know if there are spoilers.
Is there anybody going to watch it? Yeah. There's a twist at the end that would.
Don't do the big twist, because that is one thing. People are like dedicating videos to explaining the ending of this movie. So don't do the full twist.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a full twist then, because the twist is just very simple, but that's okay.
Yeah.
In the end, it's a big battle for whoever takes over the family empire and stuff like that. It's just really, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the middle, and maybe it's more poetic than I can understand. I really hope that's the case.
Yeah,
but it just wasn't put together well.
Every clip I've seen has been completely asinine.
Yeah, when you watch the trailer and you can't understand what's really supposed to be going on in the story, that's how the whole movie is. It just doesn't make sense. Francis
Ford Coppola, who did Godfather, which of course is one of the best movies ever. He did the 3 Godfather movies.
Yeah.
Or at least the first 2. But anyways, so you have a lot of hope for him, and he financed all of this. This is his pet project.
Yeah, I heard it was like $100-something million that he had to take from one of his, or pull out of one of his wineries or wine companies to invest into this, because it was over budget already.
And it's just bombing so hard.
Yeah, that's such a shame.
You were one of like 3 people that went and saw it this week.
Yeah. Oh, honestly, there was more seats in the theater sold than what people actually sat in there. My whole row was, well, most of the row I was in was supposed to be sold. And then there was like one, I sat down, there was one person next to me, and then she got up and like scooted over a few seats because all the rest of the row was empty.
Might
like,
as well.
I sit in the assigned spot. I'm not going to, be awkward when somebody shows up for their chair. But yeah, like most of the theater was empty. And it was weird because the spots were sold. I'm wondering if somebody's pre-buying tickets to try to give them away or something like that.
Yeah.
Promote it a little more, but I don't know. It was weird.
Okay, so briefly, performances. So Shia LaBeouf was pretty solid.
He was
for
good.
What he was.
Part of his skill in it was his character changed a lot. Didn't change like in time. I thought there was going to be the time sci-fi aspect of it was just nothing. It was just don't even pretend it had it in there. It's stupid. I love time travel movies and stuff. And it was every once in a while, this normal guy in this time happens to be able to just pause time. And he only uses it like a few times. What? You have this world-changing power and you kind of just use it every once in a while, or maybe he rewinded to redo something once. I don't remember, but it was just didn't affect the story. It was just pointless. But yeah, sorry. Shia LaBeouf, his character, like there's several scenes where he's in like drag, I guess, or cross-dressing, or I don't know. I think he was trying to like infiltrate, a group of women. So he was in the full makeup and acting, and it did a very good job. And then he would be like kind of, not a mob boss, but a little more, I don't know.
Perfect kind of role for him where he can kind of do everything.
Yeah, because he would go out into the crowd and like convince people like, oh, these guys are the ones that are causing the problem and we need to stop them and stuff like that. I'm here for the people. He'd always have one of his little goons coming with him, handing out cash to the people in the crowds just to like, oh, I'm here to help the people kind of thing. He's a good actor. I wish he got more good roles.
He absolutely is. And, and I always think like when I was a teen too, I was, if I had all kinds of money like he did.
Oh yeah.
I probably would have done stupid stuff too.
Yeah, for sure. Robert Downey Jr., there's a lot of actors who've gone down that road and they come back and they have a successful career after. So I hope he continues to work.
Yeah. For Megalopolis too.
Yeah. Anyways, he was good. Jon Voight wasn't in a whole lot of scenes, but he's an older guy. But he was perfect for his role because it was supposed to be like, it reminds me of one of the Maesters from Game of Thrones, but he's just supposed to be the old guy that owns the company.
Yeah. And
certain scenes he would try to play with Aubrey Plaza, I think, that he was more senile than he is, so that they would kind of talk in front of him, and then he would reveal that he knew what was going on. So he did great. Aubrey Plaza, of course, fantastic.
She did a lot of prep for that movie.
Yeah.
I think the people that were in that movie thought the movie was going to be like the next big thing.
Yeah. I could see from the sets and how much
the costumes I hear, like everybody looked clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks like they put a lot of money into it, but it's just the story. Maybe it's one of those ones where they can recut it, re-edit it, and make it a little bit better, but I don't know.
Every clip I see, like there's like scenes where Adam Driver's doing like a drug trip kind of spinning around thing. And
that kind of pulls you out of it too.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I appreciate that he went for it. Like he definitely was like, I'm going to give it my all, but you can pull back.
And one thing we see in sci-fi movies and stuff is you have to set the boundaries, teach us what the rules are, especially if it's like time travel or something like that, whatever, something we're not used to. You set the boundaries, and then throughout the movie, you will test them and push them, and maybe the climax, you break them or something like that. That's always great. But this, like you're saying, these scenes where he's tripping and stuff like that, there's things that don't make sense within the confines of the world they built. Yeah. So like, it's just all over the place. It's hard to follow. If you were to take mushrooms and watch this, you'd probably love it. But
challenge on.
Right? Otherwise, I wish I had more good to say about it, but it's not great.
So let's go ahead and do a review for it then. What is your score out of 10?
I'd probably do like a 2.
You were 3 when you walked out of the theaters. You slipped down to 2?
Because the cast was really good. I liked all the actors. I really want them to be successful.
Yeah.
And aesthetically, it was beautiful, but there's just no plot.
Painful to watch.
Yeah.
The other thing we always ask is it worth watching in theater? Is it worth streaming at home?
No.
Not even that.
I hate to say it, I wouldn't even waste your time streaming at home. Maybe now, to be fair, I've changed my opinion on movies before that I watched, I didn't like. Then other people talk about it, like, oh, I really like this and this. And then I watch it again. I'm like, you know what? I was too critical on it. It actually is pretty good. Deadpool, for example.
I
don't like Deadpool in general. The character, I think it should have been left out of the MCU altogether. But going back and watching the Deadpool movies and understanding his character better now,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I could see why everyone would like it. And it is funny. It's just breaks the MCU.
It breaks it a lot. Yeah.
So I'm like,
don't watch She-Hulk, John.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, that's just terrible. But yeah.
So don't even watch it, guys. And 2 out of 10 now. That's slipped. That's rough. But hey, that's how it is. Man, yeah, it looked beautiful, but everything I'm seeing is pretty bad. All right, guys. So that's going to be it for us this episode. We have another episode coming out later this week. We're going to be talking about LA Comic-Con with Thomas, who's down there doing the hard work. But make sure you guys follow us on social medias, including Thomas. He has Joystick Show, his personal podcast, Found, Accepted, and Alike. You're going to be seeing all kinds of cool cosplay and the booths and whatnot. So it should be fun. All right, guys. That's it for us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.